Well, hi, everybody. You're hearing from me actually the second time this morning. I'm doing one of my least favorite things, and that is repeating a whole lecture, which somehow, and we're not quite sure how, did not get recorded when we were doing the Cosmic Fire in-depth program. So there's no other choice but to look at the lecture again. And some of the answers to questions did get recorded. So this particular section of a treatise on cosmic fire will have two parts to it. Okay, and that's just how it has to be. Now, what we're doing at the moment is we're looking at the ray of intelligent activity. This we did a little earlier. It's called the primordial ray, and it embodies the basic vibration of this solar system. And it is the cause of rotary motion. We're studying the types of motion as well. And then last week we worked on the ray of intelligent love, which embodies the highest vibration of which our solar logos or deity is capable in this solar system. And it's not yet vibrating adequately. And it is the basis of spiral cyclic movement in the body logoic, the Tibetan tells us, okay? And let me just capture this. Right. Okay, I can see here what I have to do. And let's see, this is rotary motion here for the primordial ray. And now, this morning, the ray of intelligent will. And I'll just read it as it is, and then we'll get into different aspects of it. Little as yet can be said about this ray. It is the ray of cosmic mind, and in its evolution parallels that of cosmic love. But as yet, its vibration is slower and its development more retarded. And we're going to look at the reason why this may be so. This is definitely and deliberately so, and is due to the underlying purpose and choice of the solar logos, who seeks on his high level, just as do his reflections, the sons of men, to achieve a more rounded out development. And he therefore concentrates on the development of cosmic love in this greater cycle. So these are the paragraphs we're going to deal with. This ray is governed by the law of synthesis and is the basis of the systemic movement, which may best be described as that of driving forward through space, or forward progression, or onward movement, progress onward. And I'll write that in if it's not already written in. Excuse me, my voice is now a little more threadbare after 2 hours and 15 minutes of speaking earlier. Little can be predicated anent this ray, the first ray, and its expression. It controls the movements of the entire ring past naught in connection with its cosmic center, and we'll want to define that. Usually the sun, let us say, our sun, is the cosmic center of our solar system, but what is the cosmic center in relation to the sun itself? And in one way, of course, it's the Pleiades, and in another way, it's the galactic center. I was just reading, they estimate 230 million year rotation or revolution of the sun around a certain point, maybe the center of the galaxy. I wonder if it's 250 million, just to keep the figures straight, you know, because the number 25 seems to show up so frequently when we're talking about the fourth, the number 4. And what we have, of course, is a fourth order solar system. We have humanity as a fourth kingdom. We have humanity as a fourth creative hierarchy. We have the earth as 4 from the sun and a number of other 4s that I'll get into a little bit later. So this is what we're going to look at today. And of course, you know, it won't be exactly the same as what I managed to do earlier. It is a sad thing when one ends up accidentally erasing an hour's worth of work, but it happens, okay. Now this is called the ray of intelligent will. And why is that the case? We have the ray of intelligent love, the ray of, let's see, what have we just looked at here? I think the ray of intelligent activity, okay. So all of these have to do with the third ray, or with the personality aspect. And let's see why that may be the case. I'll turn to this map, and what we'll see is a diagram that should include what the Tibetan sometimes calls Agni. Now, Agni has apparently many meanings, all the way from the kind of fire that we find on the systemic mental plane here, to a greater Agni, which comprises, and this is what's important here, it comprises the personality nature of the Solar Logos. And where can it be found? Well, it is found on the lower 4 cosmic subplanes of the cosmic mental plane, and on all of the cosmic subplanes of the astral plane, cosmic astral, and it is found in a way on all of these cosmic subplanes, which are really called systemic or solar planes, on the cosmic etheric physical plane. So there are 18 subdivisions just the way there are 18 subdivisions in the human personality down here. And maybe I can find a better way to look at those. These 18, 4 on the lower monastic plane, the concrete mind, 4 subplanes, 7 subplanes astral, and 7 subplanes as well on the systemic etheric physical plane. That's this one here, okay? So that's a parallel. That is an analogy. The 18 systemic subplanes are analogous to the 18 cosmic subplanes, and they are all the realm of personality, which is the realm of intelligence. That's why that word intelligence is being used. As we know, the personality represents the intelligent aspect, and if you combine 1 and 8, you get the number 9, which is the cyclic number associated with the 3rd ray. So that's interesting. And then the soul aspect is the love aspect, and the monadic aspect, of course, is the will aspect. So that's why we have there the ray of intelligent activity, the ray of intelligent love, and the ray of intelligent will. And they are all emanating from the point which we call Agni, or they are all emanating within the personality of our solar logos. Let's call Agni, in its relatively local meaning, the personality of our solar logos. And that's why it is also called the ray of cosmic mind. DK tells us little as yet can be said about this ray, but it has to do with the 3rd aspect of divinity, mind. And in its evolution, he says, parallels that of cosmic love, but as yet its vibration is slower and its development more retarded. And why should this be so? The solar logos is deliberately attempting to assimilate and bring to a high state of development and expression the great 2nd ray, and in a way does not yet need what would probably amount to an interference in that process if he allowed in a full measure of the 1st ray. And besides, our solar logos presently doesn't have the personality equipment to do that. Right now, to the ongoing 2nd ray soul, we have added the 2nd ray personality. In this, the 2nd major solar system and the 5th counting otherwise. And I suspect that in the next solar system where cosmic will enter more strongly, I suspect it will be a 1st ray personality for our solar logos. And of course, the opposite side of that is the solar system from which we have emerged. That would be the first major solar system, and the fourth in order. It's the personal solar system, and it's functioning under the third ray. What we see is that the mind connects with the third ray and also the fifth, but the personality connects with the third ray as well, because its center is on the highest level of the concrete mind, at least for the individual. And interestingly, the number 5 is involved because this is occurring on the 5th plane. So that is a deliberate holding back for the sake of rounding out. Now, when we think of rounding out, we think planetarily of the nature of Jupiter, which seems to produce spherical forms. It's connected with the causal body in terms of the general shape of the spherical causal body. There are other kinds of shapes, ovoid and elongated, and probably they have to do with different rays which characterize the causal body. Now, what is obvious here is that we're not getting the pure will of the cosmic jewel in the lotus of our planetary logos, and certainly not the pure will of our solar logos, which would emanate from the cosmic monadic plane. So if we look again here, okay, let's see if I can find this. You see, pure will, microcosmically, would come from this aspect of the monad, and above that would come from the father aspect on the logoic plane. You have Father, you have the Son, and you have also the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost. So all 3 major aspects are there. And microcosmically speaking, that is, in terms of our structure, will comes from the highest level of the monadic plane, apparently, and through Atma, and also through this area of the monad, which is given to active intelligence. And then from active intelligence to the monastic permanent atom. And there's another way of doing it, from will to the atmic permanent atom, and thence again directly to the monastic permanent atom. The way of buddhi is less direct, perhaps, and is not along the 1-3 line, is not along the hard 3 line. We get there, of course. We do bring buddhi into the monastic permanent atom here, but it's a less direct route than these other 2 methods of influencing the monastic permanent atom, which then, of course, goes on to influence profoundly the building and sustainment of the egoic lotus and the sustainment of its particular ray energy. So let's see here. Okay. And this is the larger map. Okay. Oh, there's much to be said about this particular map, but we will get there. We're not talking about will coming from the cosmic monadic level as a direct influence. It looks like an indirect influence. And it's coming via, apparently, see, if there is a spiritual triad to the solar logos, it's not being depicted in this particular chart. What is depicted is the position of the causal body of our solar logos. It says causal body of a solar logos, but since elsewhere we are told that the causal body of our solar logos is on the first subplane, it does indeed look like this little triangle represents the causal body of our particular solar logos. And so the will, intelligent will, is not direct. It probably is coming from the, let's say, the mental unit of the solar logos, which is not depicted. And perhaps it seems a slightly different arrangement, but at least from the causal body of the solar logos, there will be a jewel in the lotus. And from that jewel in the lotus will come a direct impression of will, but it started out on the cosmic monadic, which does not reach us directly. What is more direct is the intelligence of the cosmic mental plane as an example of how will can be transmitted through it. Now, you know, will and mind, they really do go together. When you think about the, when you think about parents and children, you know, the parent is oftentimes saying, now you mind me. So many times I seem to have remembered that from when I was very young. So that has to do with the way that the will is working through the mind. When someone says, you mind me now, means you obey my will as transmitted through my mind. Now, people who say mind me, you know, they don't think of that necessarily. But from the will to the mind is a direct channel, and somehow the will gets through the mind. That's what we're talking about now, is a first ray, but it's the ray of intelligent will. And so it involves the mind, and it tells us here that this is the ray of cosmic mind. And the term will is mentioned above. The ray of intelligent will is the ray of cosmic mind. So that's what I'm going to write down here. Okay, and maybe I'll write it right here. The ray of intelligent will is really the ray of cosmic mind. And where does it emanate from? Does it necessarily emanate from the higher subplanes, cosmic subplanes of the cosmic mental plane, or does it emanate somehow from the lower 18? That is, from the cosmic concrete mind of our solar logos. Now, we're told the Buddha had a touch of cosmic mind. How far did he go? Did he stay within Agni, within the solar personality of the solar logos? Well, maybe he did. And is there a mental unit and a monastic permanent atom, or are they somehow coalesced for the solar logos? Anyway, from the monastic permanent atom that builds the mental vehicle, along with the help of a great cosmic solar angel, there must be a direct connection with the cosmic jewel in the lotus. So it's impossible for us to tell whether the Buddha's cosmic touch at his sixth initiation went beyond the lower four subplanes of the cosmic mental plane. If it did, it went into the higher three subplanes, which would have been an extraordinary feat, because we are also told, just as the causal body of the solar logos is on the first cosmic subplane of the cosmic mental plane, so the causal body of our planetary logos, a non-sacred logos, is on the third subplane, cosmic subplane of the cosmic mental plane. And I simply intuit or have the sense that for the sacred planets, the causal body is located on the second cosmic subplane of the cosmic mental plane. So the bottom line here, will and mind go together, both in the microcosm and in the macrocosm. And we're talking about the origin, the practical origin in Agni, the personality of the solar logos, of the will ray. We do not have anything direct from the cosmic monadic plane or even cosmic atmic plane where the will would be found. Now, I think the Great Bear, the hint is on page 1162, manifests cosmically, atmically, on the cosmic atmic plane. And when we think about the Great Bear, its relationship is not to the little microcosm at all. Its relationship is to our planetary logos, which, or who is a very subsidiary entity to those great seven rishis. And that would mean that our particular planetary logos is connected with one of the stars of the Great Bear. And maybe as our planetary logos changes its polarization, its focus, maybe the star with which it is connected changes too. It's a possibility. Our planetary logos is astrally polarized and has a third ray personality. And so it will, in a way, at this time, connect with Alioth. But when it begins to function in its second ray soul nature, as the reappearance of the Christ indicates. It will perhaps be connected with Mizar, the second star, and later, I suspect in the very ending times of our solar system, and then fully in the next solar system, the first ray monad of our planetary logos will become the great power. And then it will connect with the star, perhaps, there's a theory here, called Al-Qaid or Bennett Nash, the very end star in the tail of the bear. So, maybe all of this is occurring according to the law of mutation, in which relationships are constantly changing. We have kind of a example in Venus. We're told that Venus does or will connect with the heart center of our solar logos. But right now, it's very probably representing the solar plexus of our solar logos. And later, and we don't know exactly when that will be. Will it be the next solar system? It will take its place as representing fully the heart center of the solar logos. Right now, that is Jupiter. So there is, I guess the principle here, there is mutation of function. And I think different planets at different times have different functions and play the role or participate in the role of different chakras. Sometimes I wonder whether there are not at least 3 chakras, a triangle, associated with each one of the areas. 3 basic ones for the base of spine, 3 for the sacral, 3 for the solar plexus, and so forth. I wonder about that. But of course, we're in no position to know any of the details of this law of mutation. So again, repeating what the Tibetan says here in black, little as yet can be said about this first ray of intelligent will. But now maybe we know the reason why it's called intelligent will and not loving will or, will, because it's emanating perhaps from the personality of the solar logos, which we're calling Agni. It is the ray of cosmic mind carrying the will, and in its evolution parallels that of cosmic love. Another hint, perhaps, because for some beings, the love petal of any circle of petals unfolds as rapidly as the knowledge petal. The third ray always comes first in its unfoldment. And then you would say the second ray next. Much depends, of course, on the ray of the monad. But we have he talks about the individual and how for the second ray monadic type, I guess, the petal which represents love unfolds just about as rapidly as the petal that emphasizes intelligence, which would not usually be the case. Well, maybe that's the case right here for our solar logos and his system, since our solar logos is a great, finally, I think, second ray being with its probable fourth ray monad as a subray giving way to a second ray monad. And so the ray of cosmic love, or the structures associated with cosmic love, would unfold just as rapidly as those associated with cosmic mind. But as yet, its vibration is slower and its development more retarded for deliberate purposes, okay, by choice of the solar logos. Sometimes, you cannot do too many things at the same time and expect good results. And if we are right now trying to develop the soul nature, with rounding us out, so to speak, if we put too much emphasis upon will, we're liable to imitate what we think will is without really carrying will into expression. Like I've seen, it's kind of amusing, if true, I have seen people with a first ray personality kind of force the issue as they determine that really they are first ray monads. In other words, the first ray personality is so strong that they think they are first ray monads, and when they force the first ray into expression, it turns out just to be personality forcing and not the will, the true higher will at all. So, okay, I think that clarifies what we have here. Is the situation in which we are reached, the will reaches us by passing through the mind. And the mind nature is somehow on that will line and is a kind of method of passage for the will energy. I think I've dealt with this. We have a mantra called "Three Minds Unite." It's a word of power for the fifth ray. And the way to divide those three minds, or at least one of the ways to divide the three levels of mind are, well, let's see. Yeah. 4 levels or sub-levels for the concrete mind, 2 levels for the son of mind or soul, and 1 level for that part of the mind which is abstract and part of the spiritual triad. So it's 1, 2, 4. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Maybe, there's something to that division of the numbering. All of these charts, they look like abstractions at the moment, but later they will be records of our own experience. That is what will develop. Okay, so lower mind, son of mind or soul mind, and abstract mind, which has a direct connection with Atma and is along the line of the will aspect of the monad. So all of this is an attempt to explain how the ray of intelligent will may actually be the ray of cosmic mind. And the word intelligent means something. It has to do with the third aspect of divinity, which in this case is Agni, expressing through the lower 18 subplanes. And I explained that the number 18 has, do they call it an alpha number of 9, and 9 is the method, the cyclic number for the third ray. And maybe in this entire solar system, the development of this first ray is retarded, is held back. There's something in esoteric psychology, volume 1, where he is giving us an old commentary statement about the first ray, and we do find that there is a kind of repulsion that is occurring. I suppose, thank goodness, a kind of repulsion that is occurring until the love aspect in our solar system reaches the highest point. And here we are on page 62 of Esoteric Psychology 1. And I'm not really going to read this now, but I think that by reading the old commentary and the names of the first ray Lord and some of the things that the Tibetan talks about, in summary, we'll learn some important things about the expression of the incomplete expression of the first ray in our solar system. Just the way even now, you know, we're doing well to bring in the love aspect of the soul. Generically, the soul is conditioned by the second ray. Whatever the soul ray may be, we'd be doing well to bring in this soul aspect. And as I said, if we strive overmuch to bring in the monadic aspect, we often forget that it has to work through love in the human being if the will is to be properly used. So oftentimes we simply force a lower aspect of will to appear, and it's not the will we're looking for at all, which is a willingness to conform as accurately as possible to the purpose and plan on our planet and in the wider solar system eventually. Now, let's see what else. Okay, so this deflection, this repulsion, this non-assimilation, this warding off of first ray influence in our present solar system is deliberate. This is definitely and deliberately so, and is due to the underlying purpose and choice of the solar logos. I think his underlying purpose is as a great second ray entity. And he is the heart center, as I understand it, the heart center of the local cosmic logos, which doesn't have a name for us, but which is sometimes referred to as the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. So according to his purpose, he deflects what is not at this time germane to his purpose and to his plan. So this solar logos he seeks on his high level, just as do his reflections, the sons of men. So often, I think is there involved a inversion in reflection as opposed to correspondence? I have noticed in some of the tabulations that what goes on with man, the atom man, seems more correlated to what goes on with the solar logos than it does with our planetary logos. Maybe there's too much danger in speaking of something so close as our planetary logos, and more safety in the remote relation between the human atom and the solar logoic atom. So he's trying to achieve a rounded out development. Jupiter will be involved, and he therefore concentrates on the development of cosmic love in this greater cycle, and maybe cosmic love because this is such a Davic solar system, and because it's the second major solar system, and because the Sol ray is the second, and the higher monadic ray, if I can call it that, is probably the second, with the subray 4. Maybe love proceeds quite rapidly, developmentally, in our particular solar system. And maybe it's the intelligence aspect toward which our solar logos is aiming, which is not as rapid in its unfoldment. Now, the solar logos is attempting to become a sacred solar logos, which will occur with the third cosmic initiation along the solar logoic line, and a number 5 will also be involved. Right now, the solar logos, being very Davic and very much on the soft line, think of it at the moment, goodness, second ray monad, fourth ray submonad, second ray soul, second ray personality. I don't know what else when it comes to the lower vehicles. Maybe they are all subsumed within the personality ray, which is the second. Maybe this development is speeded on its way because of so much second ray. And we do find that for the Christ, a second ray monad, for Venus, a second ray major, sixth ray submonad, and maybe for our solar logos, with all those soft line rays, that progress can be very rapid. After all, the Christ's progress is unparalleled. And when you look at Venus, its progress too is unparalleled. It may not be the most mature or highly developed planet in our solar system. I'm sure that these synthesizing planets are of a more venerable age and of greater power, but in terms of its unfoldment in the present incarnation, Venus is very rapid. To what may we attribute that? Well, to what may we attribute the rapid unfoldment of the Christ? or maybe now the rapid unfoldment of our solar logos, whom we can call Sol, S-O-L, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, I think, and Helios, another name for him. Right. A few other things have emerged in discussion. There's such an alignment of fours going on at the present moment of opportunity, a moment of transition, because four is the central ray of the seven rays, and it's a bit like a seesaw, you know? The balance can have been over here toward the personality, but now the personality will be lifted into the air because there's greater weight on the soul side. One of our scientist students was calculating the probability of such an alignment of fours, a solar logos of the fourth order with its fourth ray color, yellow. And the focus is the fourth planet from the sun, which is Earth, and within the fourth chain of Earth, the Earth chain, and upon the fourth globe of the Earth chain, and then within man, who is both the fourth creative hierarchy of initiates, they are called the initiates, and within the fourth or human kingdom, and maybe some other fours that he put together, he came up with the idea that our this kind of opportunity through the numerical resonance of the number four has a probability of occurring one time in 4,320,000,000 times. We recognize our old friend 4320 from our discussion in footnote 6, where we were looking at the Brahmanic chronology, which Madame Blavatsky insists is accurate. We also have the necessity of the development of the four-chambered heart. And how is the heart developed? Through pain and the drawing and quartering of the heart, you know, is symbolically, of course, represents the ultimate pain experienced by us at what we call the crucifixion or the great renunciation. So here is not only a kind of fourth initiation, a subsidiary, occurring in relation to the planetary logos, but a fourth initiation occurring in relation to the solar logos through our fourth scheme. And when it comes to, when it comes to the initiation of the planetary logos, it's occurring through the fourth chain. Well, all of these fours are lining up. And the thing to do to get light offering connections or light demonstrating connections is to link up the same numbers with each other. DK does this throughout certain footnotes in Cosmic Fire, and also resonant, harmonious ray relations or numerical relations. In other words, you can link fours with twos and sixes, and I suppose eights and 12s, and, you know, various multiples, 16s, 24s, and so forth. So linking multiples of 4 with the number 4, we can also understand certain relations which otherwise we would not. Now, pain somehow has so much to do with the fourth ray, and yet not excluding the second, which by the harmony of numerical resonance can be linked with the 4, 4 being a multiple of 2. There is, some beautiful material. I read just the other day to a group of students about pain. And I wonder if I can at least locate that a little bit so that you might know where to go. No. Pain. Upward. Yeah, it's upward. So let's see. Oh, this is the one I was looking for and could not find the other day. So maybe we should read just a little bit about pain now, since we're talking about this alignment with the number 4. A word about pain might be in place here, and it tells us how the devas do not suffer pain as mankind does. The devas build and humanity breaks, and the shattering of the forms, through the shattering of the forms. Yeah. I have to make sure I'm there so you can see too. Through the shattering of the forms, man learns through discontent. This is acquiescence in the work of the greater builders. Now, here is what I was looking for and was looking in the wrong place, but let me at least speak to it at the moment. Pain is that upward struggle through matter which lands a man at the feet of the Logos. Pain is the following of the line of greatest resistance, the most frictional line, and thereby reaching the summit of the mountain. Pain is the smashing of the form and the reaching of the inner fire. Pain is the cold of isolation which leads to the warmth of the central sun. Pain is the burning in the furnace in order finally to know the coolness of the water of life. Pain is the journeying into the far country, resulting in the welcome to the Father's house. And looks like because of the sun, I've kind of disappeared there a little, so I'll eliminate that image. Pain is the journeying into the far country, yes, resulting in the welcome to the Father's home. Pain is the illusion of the Father's disowning, which drives the prodigal straight to the Father's heart. By the way, prodigality is a Jupiterian trait, and so the prodigal son living the prodigal life is misusing that planet. Going on, pain is the cross of utter loss that renders back the riches of the eternal bounty. Pain is the whip that drives the struggling builder to carry to utter perfection. Again, perfection found upon the fourth level of the Atmic plane. Drives the struggling builder to carry to utter perfection the building of the temple. And I must say beyond, maybe there's also a temple on the Atmic plane which has to be destroyed before monadic resonance is possible. The uses of the pain are many, and they lead the human soul out of darkness into light, out of bondage into liberation, out of agony into peace. That peace, that light, that liberation within the ordered harmony of the cosmos are for all the sons of men. So if you were there the other day, I think it was at the Esoteric United Nations meeting, where I was discussing pain and looking for an old commentary section. This is pretty much it, and maybe it will fill in some of the knowledge that we missed the other night. I was able to read from the Blessed Ones, where nothing remains but bliss. Pain is ended and nothing remains but bliss. Okay, so that's that. Now going on. I think I've said enough about the number 4, the heart and pain and the uses of it, and the rare opportunity that we have at this time to take advantage of an unusual alignment. Pain is watching this image be completely eradicated by the rays of the sun, which maybe is as it should be. Okay. The word greater cycle is used somewhere here. Yeah, here it is, greater cycle. And that is 100 years of Brahma. It is the duration of this entire major Mahamanvantara. It is an occult century. Okay. And cosmic love is pursued in that way. Now, since the real soul is the spiritual triad, the solar logos will be involved with triadal activities towards the end of this solar system. But all the way up to the 5th initiation, the triad is involved. And that means that the second ray soul of our logos is also involved. In other words, we don't switch suddenly to the first ray monad, once the 3rd initiation is taken. On our planet, which has a first ray monad, nor do we switch suddenly to the monadic expression of the second ray when the 5th initiation is taken. Actually, the 5th initiation in humanity does involve the first ray First ray, fifth, third ray, sixth, second ray, seventh. Rays of attribute, eighth initiation, rays of aspect, ninth initiation. So that was about the probability of the kind of alignment that we're experiencing. And the opportunity offered is considerable. I'm remembering the Tibetan saying about America right now that fortunately for the soul of that great people, much suffering lies ahead. Excuse me. I'm also reminded that Master Moria said something to the effect of the worse, the better. It's a very kind of first ray attitude. He also said that obstacles are possibilities. So he is not running away from obstacles because he thinks they will help us develop new faculties. And the same is true for pain endured and passed through. Okay, so this ray of intelligent will, the cosmic ray of mind, and we know why perhaps, this ray is governed by the law of synthesis. So often I think that of the three cosmic laws, we understand the law of synthesis the least. The three laws are the law of economy on the third ray, the law of attraction and repulsion on the second, and the law of synthesis on the first. And there is as well a kind of a fourth law, the intermediate law of karma. That seems connected again with the number 4, with Sirius and the fourth path away from this solar system. So I oftentimes think that we know very little about synthesis and that we use the term glibly, fluently. We know it's a high term. We kind of have a feeling for the great idea, but more often we're thinking in terms of the unity which must be created and not in terms of the synthesis which is. So that's another contrast to keep in mind. Synthesis is, and unity must be created. You know, we could, write the proverbial book on synthesis and the different angles of considering it. It also seems to have something of the second ray as a subsidiary of the first. There is a kind of first ray which yields destruction through adherence to matter. Then there's a kind of second aspect which is the synthesis aspect of the first ray and seems to carry much of the unitive second ray. Then, if I can choose another, well, there is the will to good, but that too seems to have the second ray component. I suppose with the first subray of the first ray, or first subray of the will, we would have the will to be, or the will not to be, to enter into life or to exit life. The death drama particularly would be involved in the will to be. So there are many divisions of the will, and when it comes to synthesis, we have to ask ourselves, what it means that synthesis is not merely a mixture, but it is an articulated wholeness of relationship within the factor of shared sameness. An articulated wholeness of relationship within the factor of shared sameness. Because no matter, well, you know, when we have synthesis, no matter what we see, even though what we see is differentiated and articulated, it's still the same. So synthesis is paradoxically is sameness perceived simultaneously with differentiation. And now there's a spelling that would not get me through the spelling bee. Okay. So paradoxically, synthesis is kind of self-contradictory. It's sameness and differentiation or articulation simultaneously. And synthesis is the basis of the solar systemic movement. Okay. Solar systemic movement, which may best be described as driving forward through space or forward progression. It's that straight line motion. And there is another thing here called, another name for this type of first ray motion is the motion of progress onward. Progress onward, when combined with rotary motion, create together the spiral characteristic of the second ray. So let me make this a little bit clearer. The spiral cyclic motion characteristic of the seventh ray. So, you know, we have the Father, the Mother, and the Son. It's an analogy. The first ray Father, the third ray Mother, or Holy Spirit. We can sometimes combine the two and sometimes differentiate them, and then the Mother becomes the fourth. But Father and Mother yield the Son. Together they create the Son. And looked at in terms of motion, then first ray motion and third ray motion create second ray motion. In other words, if you have, I don't know if I can illustrate this, if you have simply rotary motion and then you start driving it forward, the spiral will be created. There will be a rising of similar circumstances and states, but on progressively higher turns of the spiral. So there will be similarities because of the cyclicity, and there will be differences in quality because of the spiral motion. The similar events will be stacked above each other, and they will have identifiable commonalities, but The higher you go on the spiral, the more qualitatively refined are the circumstances and states associated. So, 30 years later, we can say, oh, I went through a period just like this. And that period did have strong similarities, but now you are handling it better than you handled it before. Because it's on a higher turn of the spiral. So the types of motion, driving forward through space, and that's number one, and progress onward. Yeah. Then rotary motion, which is repetitious and non-progressive. And the two together, if you drive the repeating circle forward, you get the spiral. And I suppose there are forward spirals, upward spirals, and downward spirals, outer spirals, and inner spirals. Ever the refinement of the original intent can occur through the spiral, or maybe in the case of the downward spiral, it can be the worsening of the original condition, as when, people of alcoholic habits go lower and lower and are less and less capable of handling what they could handle a little higher on the previous turn of the spiral. So little can be predicated anent this ray and its expression. It controls the movement of the entire ring pass knot in connection with its cosmic center, and I'm going to speak about that just a little bit. There are so many cycles that we cannot measure, many that we are not aware of, some that we're aware of but we cannot measure them, and others for which we are both aware and can measure. So just the way the will is a very unknown factor to the majority of human beings and even to aspirants and disciples, DK says, you know nothing of the will, really. So the first ray, which is the ray of will, is the ray about which less is known than the other rays. And also DK says, first ray people are so frequently misunderstood. That goes along with the unknown factors regarding the ray and regarding its type of motion. While I think of it, the type of motion of the first ray leads to detachment. Attachment to habits come in with rotary motion. A general form of inclusive attachment comes in with the second ray, but the first ray, with its progress onward, is driving forward through space. Its forward progression is able to detach itself more easily. It doesn't stay in one place long enough to become attached. what do they say? A rolling stone gathers no moss. And I suppose if you look at the rock group called the Rolling Stones, you see some of that behavior demonstrated. They definitely have a first ray impact, and they've had it for over 50 years. What a long enduring group. Now, when it comes to the ring pass knot, it's footnote number 7, and I'll jump down here for the moment and read what's in that footnote. The term ring pass knot is used in occult literature to denote the periphery of the sphere of influence of any central life force. We have a ring pass knot, we have a center, and it extends naturally only so far. Same with the planetary logos, same with the systemic boundaries of our solar system in relation to our solar logos. But those boundaries, by the way, are constantly widening as we discover that there's a lot of planetary activity going on beyond Saturn, which was the original naked eye ending of the range of our solar system. And we went on then to Neptune, Uranus and Neptune and Pluto and beyond Pluto, and out there to certain bodies that take as long in years as the Earth does in days to complete a yearly revolution, such as the hypothetical but probable planet Isis, with a direct line from Sirius and revolving around the Earth about once every 360 years in whatever shape its orbit may be, compared to the Earth with its approximately 360 days. In other words, one is years, Isis is years, 360 Earth years, and the Earth's revolution is 360 days. So obviously there's a parallel there and a kind of a triangle. Sirius, that is often called Isis, then the planet Isis, and then the planet the Earth. One day, the passage of the energies on top of the mountain of Capricorn will be witnessed. And we are told that we will be astonished or astounded at what we see in terms of lines of energy passing from point to point and making patterns of consummate beauty, if we are to believe how the Tibetan describes Shambhala. The energy centers found there and the patterns of consummate beauty which are traced by the interaction of the shambhalic energies. So every central life, whether it's the central life of the atom man or the central life of the tiny atom of substance, or the central life of the planet, our planet, for instance, or the central life of our solar system, meaning basically the sun. And then we could go on to the central life of the cosmic logos and the central life of the Pleiades, or rather the one about whom naught may be said. And I think that central life is the Pleiades, around which so much seems to revolve. And then, of course, the central life of the galaxy, and around which our solar system and other accompanying solar systems, I would imagine, revolve every 230 million years. Of course, whether that's a completely accurate figure or not, who is to say? There's something in me which wants to think of it more as 250 million years. So anyway, DK often compares these different kinds of atoms to each other: atom of substance, atom of man, atom of planetary logos, atom of the solar logos, and then taking it further, the atom of the cosmic logos, the atom of the super cosmic logos, and maybe the atom of the galaxy. Now that I make 7 atoms in all. So let me ask that, and let me count. Are there 7 main atoms? Of course, you could ask, why must it stop from there? But why must, the enumeration stop at 7? But we would have atom of matter, atom of man, atom of the planetary logos, atom of the solar logos. I've left out a couple, by the way, because the planetary chains are atoms, and the planetary globes are also atoms. And now we can maybe put it in a different color or something. The atom of a cosmic logos, atom of a atom of a supercosmic logos, and atom of a galaxy. Now, we really shouldn't stop, because there are families of galaxies and much larger structures. Maybe if we continue, we will reach 10 dimensions of atoms and a number of intermediaries and so forth. And maybe the keys to the secret doctrine can be somewhat correlated here. Well, certainly when it comes to dealing with matter, the atom, there are these schools where Prakriti is really studied intensively. Somewhere here in the footnotes are the keys. And man has many ways of being approached. And there is an astronomical key and there is an astrological key to what in general is called the secret doctrine. Anyway, DK usually confines himself to the first four when working analogically, and we could continue the principle, but the structures are of too vast a nature for us really to gain. Now, when you gain understanding, when you think of the electronic extensions of the human center via the communication systems and other subtle Uranian energies, our effective ring pass knot is much greater than our natural ring pass knot. Sometimes DK says, look, you're using the ohm, okay, but it doesn't even get beyond your own aura. It's not really influential in a wider sense because you don't know how to do it. The natural ring pass knot for average man has a relatively low radius. But for man extended through his own instrumentation, it's now global, isn't it? I mean, we can't yet say that we're talking to Martians or to Venusians. It's not yet interplanetary, but it seems like we can talk to or see what's happening with anybody on the planet. And pretty soon, it will be an extension that leads to the state of survival of the body after death. There will be communication between inner and outer worlds. Already, there seems to be. And through photography, what do they call it? Spirit photography. And sometimes through voice, a kind of communication seems to be happening between these subtle worlds and the outer worlds. So our effective ring pass knot is always growing through invention. Now, also, it's necessary that the effective ring pass knot become natural, and that our normal natural ring pass knot extends to all the places and circumstances that our that our extended electronic ring pass knot can reach, and more and more. Okay, well, that's a little bit about that footnote. Now, I did talk, you see what happened here. I'm not sure, well, I'm not sure what happened. Something happened with the record button, and the entire first part of the first lecture, which I'm trying to make up for now, was completely unrecorded, and then it came in somewhere during the question and answer and statement section. So I had a chance to talk about what may be the cosmic center toward which our solar logos and our whole solar system is heading, is driving with its first ray motion. It's not the Pleiades, even though it is revolving around the Pleiades according to occultism, maybe not according to contemporary science. And it's not the center of the galaxy, that whole idea of driving directly towards something. No, it is still a revolution of however many hundreds of millions of years, according to modern calculation. But let's just say you can even look in the same Wikipedia article and get huge discrepancies from those who have entered their assessment of durations and motions. Okay, so just wanting to finish off here a little bit. I talked about detachment, you know, and the first ray has the greatest facility with detachment, as long as it doesn't become cold and hard and inhumane and unfeeling. The motion of the first ray, driving through space, progress onward, etc., confers the least repetition of relationship. The least repetition of relationship. It is constant repositioning in space, whereas certainly cyclic rotary motion is not, and even cyclic motion of a spiral nature is somewhat confined. But driving forward, the first ray covers a lot of ground. So each type of first ray expression can terminate relationship rapidly. So the first ray seems willing to change its relationships to things most often of all the rays without remaining attached. After all, it doesn't spend comparatively much time in the same space because it just keeps moving. It doesn't spend much time in the same space. Okay, so I'll put that in. First ray motion, which is progress onward and driving forward through space, does not spend as much time in the same place as do the other rays. So hence, when detachment is necessary, the first ray can be applied. So the type of movement suggested by driving forward, progress onward, etc., it equates to a rapid change of relationship with respect to other factors in space. You know, and this, of course, suggests the difficulty sometimes of relating to first-rate people. Their form does not count with them, and they're always moving on from forms, and especially from forms destroyed. They've been involved in the destruction of forms. They do not waste time, in general, lamenting over the forms which have been destroyed. So then what is the cosmic center of our solar logos? Well, the solar logos is the cosmic center of our solar system, but what is the cosmic center towards which we are oriented in a first ray manner? Is it Sirius? I don't think so, although the connection between the two is intimate. Sirius being the teacher, Sirius being the initiator, but I don't see necessarily that our solar logos is heading towards Sirius some 8 light years away. But what astronomers seem to be telling us is that our solar system and its logos, its sun, are heading towards Vega, which is some 25 light years away, not very far at all, but more so than Sirius, and which is one of the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. My estimate, let's see here. Vega is the star towards which our solar logos expressing through the sun and the entire solar system are heading. This seems to be the general consensus. My friend Nicholas Nillen and I have speculated a lot about the content, the stellar content of the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. And I think, we've arrived at different conclusions, but my latest hypothesis anyway is that Sirius is connected with the Agena and head center, and that Vega is connected with the throat center and possibly the head center. The assignment that I find most likely is the nearby star Altair, representing the base of the spine. It is the eagle, and it flies upward. That Alpha and Beta Centauri represent probably the male and female sex centers. They are connected with the sacral center, just the way the centaur is connected with sacrality. That the star Fomolo, one of the 4 royal stars, and maybe I'm least sure about this one, but Nicholas seems to be confirmed in that, represents the solar plexus of our local cosmic logos. We're talking about the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. So the solar plexus of our solar logos, Fomolo, and we could find out a little bit about Fomolo. Maybe we should do that. Okay, and we just need to go to Google, don't we? Okay, Fomolo. It looks like Fomalhaut. Fomolo, it's in the constellation Pisces Austrinus. Its surface temperature is not quite that of Sirius, not quite that of Vega, both of whom are in the 9,000s Kelvin. And let's see if there are some questions connected with Fomolo. How far is Fomolo from Earth? 25 light years. Well, it's going to be in a different direction, but it's pretty much the same as Vega, isn't it? It's a blue, no, it's not a blue-white star. It is not that big either, but it's considered to be a royal star. Fomolo, absolute magnitude. That's what I want to see. Is it 1.16? That's not the visual magnitude. I hope that's the absolute magnitude, and it's very similar to the Sirian absolute magnitude. What is the color? Well, let's see. Bright white star. Okay. And is the 17th or 18th brightest star. Now I have a feeling that I should be over here to let you see what's going on. Okay. Absolute magnitude, it says 1.74. Sirius is brighter and has a kind of a 1.16. Here is a statement that the apparent magnitude is 1.17 and the absolute magnitude is 1.74. The higher the magnitude, the weaker the star. Now, and there are variations. Sirius, absolute magnitude, is now is minus. Okay, what's the luminosity of Sirius is 25 times brighter. The luminosity of Vega is 40 to 50 times brighter, so its absolute magnitude will be lower. And let's see, go back to Vega. Vega absolute magnitude, it says 0.582. And what did we, well, see, there are discrepancies here. That's all I can say. Let's see. Apparent magnitude 0.03, absolute magnitude 0.5, that's Vega. Absolute magnitude of, that is, if these stars were equidistant from the sun, it tells us the degree to which they would shine. What am I missing? I am missing Fomalhaut, H-A-U-T, Fomalhaut. And that's it. Okay. Sometimes these things are a little difficult to find. The absolute magnitude is certainly weaker, much weaker than that of Vega, and apparently weaker than that of Sirius. And would it be then the solar plexus center? See, certain thoughts are going through my mind that the percentage of unfoldment of the chakras in a human being, such as the very first disciple discussed, BSD, a certain Herbert Adams, who had 40% unfoldment head, 15% unfoldment ajna, I'm forgetting, 60% unfoldment throat, 50% heart, and 75% solar plexus. Well, he was a six-ray personality and a six-ray astral, but he was a third-ray soul. So why was the ajna center so weak? Everyone has a different percentage applied to the different chakras when you look at the unfoldment of the entire chakric system. Well, if our sun has a solar luminosity of 1, and it is the heart center of a cosmic logos. And if Sirius has a solar luminosity of 25, and let's say could be the head center of this cosmic logos, if Vega has a solar luminosity of between 40 and 50, it's the brightest. And it is a blue-white star, even as in man, the throat center is bluish silver, silvery blue. So there seems to be a correlation there. Then Procyon would be considered forward-looking, onward-rushing Procyon related to the Ajna Center. And so I think I've given them all now. And let's see. Okay. So this would be the seven, this is solar systems, and 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. Sirius, head, center, maybe. Procyon, Ajna, center, maybe. Everything's a maybe here. Vega, throat center, and we do discuss this a little later. He has in the constellation of the lyre, the harp. And let's see if I'm in the right place. Yeah, I am. Throat center, maybe. And our sun, Helios, our sun, or Logos, heart center, and not maybe, and Fomolo, solar plexus, maybe, and Alpha and Beta Centauri. It says, well, let's say sacral center. And then Altair, the base of spine center. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So this is a hypothesis. All this and hypothesis. Okay. But we do seem, according to astronomical calculation, to be heading in the direction of Vega. And some have said we are heading towards Hercules, but I think they are not exactly in the same part of the sky, so it's difficult to conceive of heading towards both. Let's, just while we're at it, and for fun, let's check out Altair for the base of the spine. And the main star there, yes, Altair, and in the constellation of the Eagle. And what kind of star is it? Okay. It has an apparent visual magnitude. Its absolute magnitude is 2.22. Apparent magnitude, we're not so interested in that. It just has to do basically with how far the star is from our solar system, with an obvious brightening the closer it is, and a dimming the farther it is. But the absolute magnitude is relatively high, so it is weak by comparison. If it represents the base of the spine in terms of its unfoldment, well, that tells us something about our local cosmic logos. Okay. And when it comes to Alpha and Beta Centauri, Alpha Centauri, absolute magnitude. Let's see if we can get it. And there's also a Proxima Centauri. There are a number of stars associated with that. The absolute magnitude, A and B have absolute magnitudes of 4.38. They are weak, weaker than Altair, certainly weaker than Fomalhaut, much weaker than Vega and Sirius. The absolute magnitude, goodness, is that, no, that's Proxima Centauri. Alpha Centauri, absolute magnitude 4.38. And since there's a Beta Centauri, it's 5.71, relatively weak. Now, what we could do, we could list the, no good, too much sun. What we could do is list these stars that are likely to be in the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one, and we could list them in descending order. The absolute magnitude of our sun, I'm not sure how that would be measured. Our sun, let's see. Absolute magnitude. What is our sun's absolute magnitude? Well, this is visual magnitude. It's huge, of course, because it's so close. Minus 20, the lower it is, the more intense the star. But we can see somewhere where we fit with a 4.83. So we could do that. We could put our sun in that sequence of stars, and we could tell the relative power of the star, and by the relative power of the star, we could maybe tell the degree of unfoldment of the stellar chakras within our local cosmic logos called the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. Now, some of the stars are weaker than the sun, and some are much stronger. Another way to do this is to list them by solar luminosity. That means how many times brighter are they than our sun. Sirius has about a plus 25 up to plus 33, the estimates, and Vega plus 40 to plus 50, depending on the different estimates. And let's just see about Altair. And I just want to make sure that I'm including you in this, because I sometimes forget, and there it is. So it looks like Altair is 10 times that of our sun. And that doesn't fit so well with its absolute magnitude. So there are some discrepancies here, but perhaps arranging them by solar luminosities could tell us something about the power of the star. Anyway, the main point is that different chakras are differently unfolded. They have a different percentage of unfoldment. DK gave that to us for the first disciple written about in Discipleship in the New Age. BSD, he was called. Okay, I think that's correct. And I can check that. I know his name was Herbert Adams, and he was highly placed in the Rosicrucian order. But then is the sun the weakest in luminosities among these stars? So Altair is one, and Alpha Centauri solar luminosity, let's see. And I wonder if we can find this. Alpha Centauri, 1.5. It's 1.5 times more luminous than the sun. The sun is weak compared to all of these different ones. And Beta Centauri is not quite 1 solar luminosity. Now let's try Fomolo. Fomolo, solar luminosity, and it's 16 times more luminous than our sun. It is a royal star. So our sun seems to be relatively weak compared to these local stars. When it comes to Vega, we have 40 to 50. When it comes to Procyon, let's see what the luminosity is. Procyon solar luminosity of 6 times the sun. And I hope this is not just a relative luminosity, but is an absolute luminosity. And when it comes to Sirius, about, anywhere from 25 to 33 luminosities. So keep this in mind as a way of measuring chakric unfoldment, 25.4 luminosities. The sun is one of the weakest, and Beta of the Centaur, Beta Centauri, is a little bit slightly weaker. Now, what this would mean, if we're using solar luminosities as a way of determining chakric intensity in a cosmic logos, then the heart center of that cosmic logos would not be very unfolded. Now, it all depends what chakric position that whole constellation takes in the one about whom naught may be said. Is it a sacral center? Is it a solar plexus center? Well, if it's a sacral center, maybe one can understand why the heart would not be very unfolded, meaning our solar logos, our solar deity. If it is a solar plexus center, well, Fomolo should be considerably more unfolded than the heart, depending on the stage of evolution of that cosmic logos. So anyway, what we're doing here is we're speculating about the degree of unfoldment of the various chakras of a cosmic logos, and then maybe, we can't do it yet, but we could move on to the one about whom naught may be said, and we could look at the total luminosity of a constellation like Orion, or the Great, or Bear, or Little Bear. I don't know if they measure a constellation in terms of solar luminosities, but there has to be some kind of way, I would say, of measuring the luminosities of these constellations, which are chakras in the one about whom naught may be said. There has to be a way of measuring them relatively, I would say. Okay, a bit of a digression there, perhaps. But, getting back to this idea, I'm going to put it down. We should also be able to measure the luminosities of the various constellational chakras in the one about whom naught may be said. Maybe it's beyond us to do that right now. I don't know, but it seems, and maybe we can do it, but maybe nobody's done it. That's also possible. Okay, I think we have to wrap this up. We're heading towards Vega in the constellation Lyra. Lyra is analogous to the harp which Apollo carries, and the harp represents, it's a 7-stringed harp, I think, representing the 7 rays. And Vega has been associated with incantation, magical song and incantation, and the fascination of others magically through music. And so its connection with the throat center would be logical. Everything depends on how unfolded or what degree of development, let us say, our local cosmic locals, what degree of development this one about whom this cosmic logos has. Our solar system is to a certain extent unfolded. How far? Halfway? Which are the most open chakras in our solar system? Maybe Venus has completed in 5 scheme rounds its development and is really bright for the kind of planet that it is. And maybe in our very Davic solar system, which is astrally polarized, Venus is the most unfolded. It would make sense. The Earth is the base of the spine, and maybe because of the fact that our solar logos has not achieved his 3rd cosmic initiation, let alone the 5th, when Earth will be so important, Earth would not be so unfolded, even though it is a non-sacred planet. So the relative degree of unfoldment of the planets will tell us something about the extent to which our whole solar system is chakrically unfolded. And DK tells us that our solar logos is halfway through his development. And actually, he says pretty much the same of the Earth. Venus is really unfolded and has, well, it seems in most ways completed its unfoldment. As far as some of the higher planets go, the synthesizing planets, especially Neptune and Uranus, they seem not to have completed their unfoldment very much at all. And I don't know, did I talk about this a little bit earlier? Either information is being hidden about their degree of unfoldment and the geometrical figures are not there and it's just conventionalized, or they have a whole lot of unfoldment left to pass through. And we could say the same when we deal with the planet, our Earth. Two of the chains are conventionalized. Either information is being withheld or they just haven't unfolded very much. And we know that the monadic ray of Neptune is the second. Does that transfer over to the Neptune chain? We know that at least one of the monadic rays of Jupiter is probably the seventh, and is that seventh ray function being expressed because it is the seventh chain? DK at once tells us, don't pay any attention to the names of the chains, and then he tells us things which incline us to pay attention to the names of the chains because they are revelatory. Well, all of this is, as far as we are concerned, in the abstract mind realm, and it will be transferred to the intuition eventually, and we will simply know. But the time for that is not yet. Okay. Now I'm trying to wind up here. Bet you wish I would. Yeah, and let me just, when I say the conventionalization of chain 1 and chain 7, here they are, Neptune and Jupiter. And here is the conventionalization of scheme 2 and scheme 1. The Neptune chain, Neptune scheme, and the Uranus scheme. This Neptune scheme has to be maybe the most important one now because of its second ray monad in this major second ray solar system. And maybe the next time, Uranus with its first ray monad in the next solar system will be the most important. So what I'm saying is either through these conventionalizations of depiction, information is being hidden, or they're just not all that unfolded yet. And maybe both are true. Okay, so every once in a while I forget to show you what I'm talking about. So now I think you see. All right. So we're just about at the end. And I could ask, I don't know where I got that idea that is our solar system heading towards Hercules? Somehow that seemed to come up. What it says here, currently the sun is moving towards the constellation Hercules. Do we have Vega near that? See, it tells us this. Presently, our solar system is heading towards the constellation Hercules. And now I want to say, is our solar system heading towards Lyra, Lyra? And okay, our solar system from the rough direction of the constellation Lyra. The solar system, well, we do know that it's heading at least towards Vega within Lyra, okay? So yes, our sun moves around the center of the galaxy towards the star Vega. So which is it going to be? Vega in Lyra or Hercules? I don't think that they are contiguous in space. Let's see. Let me ask this. How far is Lyra from Hercules? And I'm not sure. Hercules' left hand then points towards Lyra from his shoulder. So maybe they are close enough in space to say that our sun is heading in direction towards both of them. The main body of Hercules, seen as rising, lies just above and to the left center, while Lyra with its bright Vega is down near the lower center edge. The northern end of Ophiuchus is towards the upper right. Well, I think we would definitely need a program like Starry Night to look at that. And Nicholas, as I say, has that program and uses it extensively. But I'm not going to get into it right now. At least it seems in the same general direction. And before I wondered whether it was or not. Okay. The point is that there is a type of motion which is the rotation of the whole solar system to be calculated by a mathematics which we don't have. There is the sun itself rotating maybe once every 27 days. Okay, how long does it take the sun to rotate? On its axis, 27 days. Okay. Interesting, you know, those figures around 27, 28 having to do with lunar cycles as well, and with mansions of the moon. And then, so the sun revolves on its axis, or rotates, let's say. The whole solar system rotates, and that's a much more occult and obscure figure. Then there is the driving forward of the whole solar system towards Vega and some say Hercules, which is the energy of progress onward, the first ray type of motion. And as a result of rotation and driving onward, some kind of spiral cyclicity has to occur with the rising of the qualitative response of the solar logos to certain similar conditions. There's so much astronomy, you know, occult astronomy, that we have not been given, nor do we need it. We can't even calculate the horoscope of our planet yet. But hints are also given about the duration of great cycles. Is it a kalpa that involves the alignment of all the planets, and probably not, I'm guessing, trans-Saturnian planets in the first degree of Aries. Now, whether that actually works out or not, it will take some very knowledgeable type and a very good computer program to determine that. Okay. So there's been quite a bit of astronomy we've been discussing here. And are both destinations true, possibly true, or generally true? Okay. And I've asked here, you know, since the first ray is being rebuffed by our solar logos, whether it means that somehow that driving forward through space, which is first ray motion, is also retarded or held back. Okay, I think I've said enough about the cosmic center. In one way, it's the center of the galaxy. In another way, it's the Pleiades with Alcyone as the center. But the relationship of our sun to those 2 points is not direct and progress onward. Vega as a star, even though up to 50 times brighter than our sun, has an axis which is similar to our sun. And someone pointed out that the word lyrics, as when you write poetry, you know, and then set it to music, is related to Lyra and to the throat center. I thought it was a good observation. And when we think of the chakra system of man, can we think of the energy of a chakra moving directly towards another chakra? That would be the analogy. Now, the chakras, in this case, do not change position, but the energy is directed towards other chakras in a kind of driving through space, through etheric space, first ray motion. Okay, and we have discussed the 7 main atoms, and we have discussed footnote number 7, and we have discussed the ring pass knot. So that has taken us, and this is, you know, it's program okay, wait a second, that's program 2724. No, this is the beginning. This is going to be the beginning. We have reached program 23, 24, because I'm doing this program just by myself. And the next program will be 28. And I'm not sure exactly how to do this, but I'll just say I have done 5 solo programs. This time, unfortunately, because of the loss of a recording. And it turned out, you know, to be a longer program that I've been dealing with here. Anyway, what do I hope that you and I have gotten out of this? Because we've only moved a page, really. I hope we have seen some of the implications of the motion of our sun and solar system. I hope we have understood the three modes of motion. I hope we have applied at least two of the modes of motion, cyclic, all three really, rotary, spiral cyclic, which has to do with the revolution. Yeah, all right, so now I'll mention this. So I hope we have learned something about three modes of motion. Our sun's rotation and the rotation of our solar system, very obscure. He says your mathematics can't handle it. I hope the revolution around the Pleiades, which should be considered, spiral cyclic. Every time we're on a higher turn of the spiral, every time we go around, if indeed we do go around, astronomers don't think so. And occultists say we do, and others say it's just to be considered symbolically. And also about first ray motion, driving forward through space. Okay. Driving forward through space. First ray motion of our sun, solar logos. So I hope we've learned something about that, and we've learned something about solar luminosities and the degree of chakric unfoldment which solar luminosities may represent, just the way absolute magnitudes, if we could just get solar luminosities and absolute magnitudes correlated, doesn't seem to be that good a correlation yet. If we could just get the absolute magnitudes correlated, might tell us something about the degree of unfoldment of stars considered as chakras. So, yeah. So I hope we've learned something about that. And about the detachment of the first ray related to its motion. Okay, we are learning about the detachment of the first ray related to its type of progressive motion. We're learning that. And we've learned maybe a little bit about speculatively at least, about which stars stand for which chakras within the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. So that should be enough learning. There's still more things to correlate, definitely. We've learned about great opportunity on the number 4 and the probabilities that so many 4s would be aligned at this time, a real window of opportunity. We've learned about the deflection of the first ray by our solar logos by, deliberate choice, because he's developing the second ray to round things out, we have learned about Agni as the personality of the Solar Logos, and why the word intelligent is always applied to will, love, and activity. And maybe we can look at three terms connected. We might say cosmic will. Well, let's see, cosmic mind, Agni, and and cosmic logoic personality, and Fohat, and cosmic Fohat may all be more or less equivalent. I didn't bring the Fohat angle in, but it is connected. And let's call it this as well. Now, is it? Cosmic Brahma has something to do with this, but that may be 5 cosmic planes. Okay, this is the big picture. That's what we've been dealing with today, and always with the treatise on cosmic fire, we do tend to deal with the big picture. And I don't know if I told you, I think in the other program I told you that Mary Bailey always insisted that I pronounce the full name of the book. If I say Destiny of the Nations, she'd say The Destiny of the Nations. If I said Cosmic Fire, she'd say A Treatise on Cosmic Fire. So I'm afraid I don't behave quite properly in terms of the full pronunciation, but I think you get what is necessary to know. All right, that'll be it then. And the next time we get together, we'll be on the 28th of August, and it will be a PM session, and we're as far as page 41. And it's my desperate hope that this did record and not the mishap that happened earlier, which we can't quite figure out yet, but okay, it happened. So love and many blessings from all of us on the communications team here, and we'll be talking to you soon. Okay, bye for now.